So, right now in life, there's three main pillars that we all should focus on. If we want an abundance, some exercises for them to start applying when we listen. They don't leave the consequences of your life. Welcome to the Abundance Protocol, where we build the person, the structure, and the system behind a bigger life. I'm Mauro Arias. Let's get into it. So, hello. Welcome to episode one of the Abundance Protocol. My name is Mauro Arias, and we're just going to get right into it. So, the first topic that I wanted to talk about is I'm going to have my notes here. It's why most people want more but have or make less. And what I mean about this is that usually a lot of you guys listening, and that's probably the reason why you guys are here. You want a better life, and what a better life means is more abundant, let's say a family, a better car, a better house, more money, look better. But everyone acts different from what they want. So, for example, if you want a better car, you need to work or make more money to have that car. But you just lay back and do not put enough effort on that car that you want. Or, for example, you want a fit body, but you eat junk food, you don't sleep well, you don't even exercise, and you're expecting to have a better body. So you need to correlate what you actually want from what you're acting towards. And there's a lot of things that we will be discussing throughout this podcast. For example, right now, as you see on the title, the podcast name is the Abundance Protocol. And I want to explain a little bit about what abundance means and what the protocol is about. So let's start first with what the protocol is about. So right now in life, there's three main pillars that we all should focus on if we want an abundant life. And one of them would be yourself. The other one would be, for example, if you want a business or even at your regular 9 to 5 job, if you're happy with it, you need to have a structure to be organized and, well, come out with the best outcome possible. And the last one would be the scalability. If you want to be better at something, if you want to scale, for example, to a six pack, if you want to scale to a Mercedes instead of a Toyota, you need to have the process first and then know how to scale. Now, we mentioned this, but we need to know how we want to talk about abundance first. So the podcast would be surrounded with a lot of things related to abundance, but the word abundance right now usually only refers to money. And I don't want to just point you towards money because usually money is really a superficial thing, and I'm not saying that it's not important, but there is a lot of things that abundance can cover. And I want to name a few of them. So, abundance can refer to, of course, money, as we discussed, can refer to happiness. You have a lot of happiness, for example. It can refer to family, that you're well with your family, you're abundant on your family side. Can refer to job or work. If you're a person that likes to work or wants to have a lot of work, and I'm not saying that you don't give it a rest or anything like that, but being abundant with your work is important as well. So you need to pay attention to that. In health, it's really important. If you're not abundant in the health side, of course, you cannot do any of the ones that we mentioned before, right? So being abundant covers like a full spectrum around your life, and it does not just talks about money. So in this podcast, that's what we want to focus on. It's not just about the money side, but you need to make sure that you're aligned in any other abundance aspect of your life, so you can have a successful life in your own terms, of course, because everyone has a different view of success, right? Now that we know what abundance is and how we want to define it, um, I wanted to discuss a few things that I think are important to mention related to that abundance. For example, I'm going to read them and I want them to sink in when you hear them. Okay? So the first one would be money without discipline becomes a waste. Confidence without humility becomes ego. Opportunity without structure becomes chaos. And growth without self leadership creates pressure, not freedom. So if you see, a lot of them are different things that you might have, but if you don't have the right guidance, you're not even close to being abundant. For example, if you feel confident, but you express the wrong side of the confidence, you will see a lot of ego. If you have a lot of money but just waste it, there is a point where you probably, or you might still have money, or you probably are going to lose everything. And with the other two examples as well, it works the same way. So keep that in mind every time that you feel that you have something positive as well. Do the feedback to yourself and check if it's a positive abundance or a negative abundance on the side that you're taking. And for example, now that we mentioned positive or negative, there's two paths that for me are really important to consider when you're taking decisions. Now, usually in life, everything that you do is your fault. You don't need to blame anyone else for the decisions that you make, but there's times when the decisions that you make are um, a thought of someone else that influences you. So for me, there's two types of people that get lost. The first one would be the people that makes bad decisions, and the other one would be the people that are influenced by other people to take decisions. Now, let's talk about the first one, bad decisions. So, bad decisions, I mean, not just in terms of alcohol or smoking or doing pornography, that usually are the most common. Bad, bad decisions are just lying to yourself, for example. Bad decisions are not sleeping well, that are not that common, or eating unhealthy. Every small aspect that you know it's negative, but you're thinking, oh no, it's just another McDonald's combo, for example. Or, oh no, it's just 2 more hours that I'll continue working on the computer and I won't rest. If that eventually gets accumulated, you will see bigger problems in your life. And the other one is when you borrow decisions. When you borrow decisions, is for example, you can borrow decisions from your family, you can borrow decisions from mentors, you can borrow decisions from your friends. And it's something that it's a little bit harder to notice because usually we think that that's normal, that that's the right path. But there's times where you don't want that life for yourself and you still take that lead. So let's say you wanted to go and study arts, but everyone in your family is a doctor and you started doing biology at college, of course, you're going to be unhappy because you're not taking the path that you actually want. And even though they don't do it from a bad side or a bad spot in their heart because they do care about you, they do deeply love you, for example, in your family, they don't live the consequences of your life. So if you're unhappy, they'll probably still feel the same. So you need to make sure that you understand that as well and live your life on your own terms. Now, as we see, both of the decisions, even though one of them might be led by someone else, are our own. We make sure that our life takes a specific path because of the decisions that we make. Now that we understand that idea, I wanted to discuss another important aspect that is how I lived those paths. And the reason why I mention my own life is because I want you to understand that from the advising that I'm providing, it's something that I have lived as well. So, for example, I was on both sides. I made bad decisions and I was self-led by other people. I was led, I'm sorry, by other people. So the bad decisions were more related to partying, drinking, and of course, I wanted to have an abundant life in terms of money, being healthy, having a shredded body at some point. But if I partied a lot, it wouldn't relate because I was sleeping bad. My diet, of course, was not even close to healthy. I was drinking, um, and of course, I was kind of talking to the wrong people. And if you surround with a circle of the people that are not even close to your goals, of course, not going to get there. Now, on the other side as well, I lived from the part of me trying to go to college when I never wanted to, or I didn't know what I wanted to, and making some other decisions in my life, in study terms mostly, where it was more following what my family thought was best, but I never connected with that idea. So that's why I mentioned this aspect. So you relate as well, but you know that it's not just something that I'm inventing. Usually, if you do retrospective, the decisions that make you quote unquote unhappy are because you took bad decisions or you took the decisions that were not yours. Now, to explain a little bit more on the protocol, I wanted to point each and every of the aspects that I mentioned, and I will start with the self. So, with the self, you need to um, work on yourself, as the word says, but in different aspects. You need to work on identity, you need to work on habits, for example, you need to work on your own decisions, you need to work on removing habits as well. And well, there's a lot of other aspects just by the people that you are becoming. There's things or decisions that you know you should do, but you're avoiding. And if you continue doing a retrospective to your life, you will see that there is a lot that you need to solve on yourself before taking any other path for the bigger dream that you have. Now, let's say that you solve everything personal and you know how to self lead you, then it comes the structure. The structure is more into, let's do the business example. Structure your sales funnel, structure your company, your processes, how to solve, let's say, a no or a negative impact in your company. So every process that your company follows, you need to build in a structure for it to actually walk. Because you cannot just say that you're going to make sales without knowing how to, what offer you have, what no's you can have. So you need to do a full structure before actually jumping in. And I'm not saying that you should not act right away, but at least think every time that you act to learn from what you fail and build it as a structure for the future. And the last point is a scale. On the scale terms is, let's use the sports example. You can become an athlete. That's the structure. You know that you need to train, you know that you need to eat healthy and all that. But what is the next step to be an Olympic athlete or to become an NFL player, to become an NBA player? And then, for example, when you're an NBA player, what's the next step to become Michael Jordan? How to scale to that point of being or making history. And of course, it applies to every aspect of your life as well. If you want to be a musician, if you want to have a company that is really successful, just as Amazon, for example. So you need to make sure that you understand each and every aspect of those to have an abundant life. And you will eventually see that these patterns will repeat on every part of your life. So every time that you have a doubt of a decision, think of the three S's, think of the point where you're at, and apply the next best step that you think comes to that specific vertical that you're going through. Now, in this podcast, I'm not just working towards me talking and you listening and learning. I want to as well provide the people that listen some exercises for them to start applying what we listen right away. So the first thing that I wanted to share is an exercise that is part of how to understand your point in life and how to start fixing it at least with one activity right now. So I'm going to read 6 questions. My idea is for you to take note of them. And once you have those 6 questions, um, I want you to start answering them and thinking about your life and how to improve it moving forward after listening to this podcast. So the first one that I wanted to talk about is, what life do I keep saying that I want? You can type in there anything that you want to achieve, who did you want to become, everything related to your goals. Now, the second question is, what decisions, are currently pulling me away from that life? So of course, it's not something that you need to know right away. But the idea of this question is for you to sit down and think, what is something that if I have this goal, it's pulling me away that I'm doing right now? The third one is, what decisions have I been avoiding? There's times, as I discussed during the podcast, that is not something that you don't need to do, but that you actually need to do and you've been postponing. If you want to be a content creator and you haven't posted a video, you know that you need to post a video to start that, right? If you want to be a person that it's healthy, but you start eating junk food every time, you need to stop at least drinking soda, for example. So you need to take those decisions and take note of those that you've been avoiding. The fourth one, what is the real reason I have not made it? Probably you already know, and most of people knows, but the idea of taking note is because every time that you write something, your brain takes the idea a little bit better and understands it better. It's not just like a thought that you let go. Now that you write it, it will be a little bit more engraved, um, and it will be more significant for your next decisions if you remember what you wrote. Now, number 5. What happens if I delay the decisions that I've been avoiding, the decisions that I don't do for the next 6 months? So, what happens if I delay these decisions for the next 6 months? What will happen to my life? How would it look? If I continue eating junk food for 6 months, would my heart rate be a little bit worse? Would I have like any disease, for example? And the number 6, what is the smallest action I can take in the next 24 hours? If you were going to have lunch and you were going to order McDonald's in the next 24 hours, you can cook yourself a healthier dish. If you were going to watch Netflix instead of training and you wanted to become a elite athlete, you know that you need to train instead of watching Netflix. So what is that decision that you should make in the next 24 hours? Now, as I mentioned, my idea is for you to practice what we listened and take action right away. Because sometimes everything that we do or listening to a podcast fades away from the moment that we stop listening to it. So my idea is for it to be a little bit more practical and for the listeners to have an opportunity to start acting on their dreams and their abundant life. Now I wanted to close saying that you know the decisions that you take, you know what matters in your life, and you know the dreams that you want to have. Make sure that you take the decisions that will lead you to the right path and try to avoid on focusing on what other people think, what other people want, or what you know it's wrong, because you're the only one that lives the consequences. And even though everything seems easier when we take the decisions that we're taking right now because we feel comfortable. On the long term, you will suffer a little bit more. And you will see the cost is a little bit more when you don't take action and you just settle down and don't go out of that comfort zone more than when you go out of that comfort zone and you kind of have the hard path, but it will eventually give you a little bit more at that moment. So thank you for listening. Hopefully, you guys are following the podcast and you liked it. And we'll catch you on the next episode.